Okay, let me pick up again. I had ended with question number 13, and so I'm going to go on to question 16 uh, and see where we get. So 16 was a multiple choice question, um, and it did have a correct answer. Uh, so for 16, the correct answer was C, that the area we call Mexico City, the Aztec capital, then, at the time of the Spanish conquest, indeed was home to a system of urban agriculture. It is interesting, you hear this expression, urban agriculture, now every once in a while if you're reading sort of, you know, futurology books or, sort of like how to heal the earth type books and, you know, uh, ecological amelioration types of arguments and so forth. Well, we should maybe try to do more food production in dense areas. Probably a good idea, but it's also true that in Mexico City, that's exactly what they did. It was urban agriculture. That's the Chinampas system that we talked about with the floating gardens and so forth. That the Spanish then came in and drained and everything. So 16 is indeed C. You know, so that's a good one to remember because it's also connected to some other issues that we've discussed. So moving to 18. Let's see, 18 has a none of the above is your best bet there, right? So number 18 is alternatives to Boasian cultural anthropology originated in a response to. So it's none of the above. There's no good answer there. Some of you had a kind of a good mistake in mind, so to speak, which was something maybe about colonial expansion. And that's not the right answer there either, although it is true that changes or alternatives to Boasian cultural anthropology, like Eric Wolf, right, and Sidney Mintz and others. That was how I introduced them. These are the folks who began using more, among other things, history and politics, including colonial politics, in their initial, from the very beginning in their analysis of their conventional ethnographic data. They would make a lot of reference to the colonial history of, let's face it, most of the places that anthropologists did their fieldwork in. And so that's, there is no right answer to number 18, but there's also something about that issue of colonialism. Some of you suspected it. Alternatives to Boasian anthropology of the sort that Mintz and Wolf came up with, and which are very, very common these days, in many ways were a response to what they saw as the Boasians having sort of ignored the impact of colonialism for much too long. All right. Now, how about 19? So 19, you should not have got that wrong. Most of you didn't, but there were a number that did get that one wrong. And that is that's a problem. You don't want to get that one wrong. It seems to me you should totally know that answer, which is a none of the above answer also for 19. Yam is the staple crop. They eat yams every day, right? they eat as many yams as they can get their hands on, so to speak. An abundance of yams is a big deal. The Trobrianders traditionally ate lots of yams as the staple crop. You know, they had the one big harvest every year. They might run out of, or start getting low on yams toward the end of a particular year. And at that point, they might have to, because it didn't happen every year. But under circumstances of a bad harvest or something in the past, they might have to eat yams sparingly. But there's never only on festival days or something like that. Certainly on festival days, you're supposed to have lots of food, including, of course, lots of yams, because the Trobrianders just don't think about meals without yams. It's sort of like, meals without bread or something would be to a number of European types of populations, especially in the past. Now, I want to go through for number 19, right? Number 19, there's no answer. It's a none of the above, which I didn't give you. Now, some of you, by the way, were very good about pointing out that there's no good answer here. It should be none of the above. Others, you sort of decided, well, there must be an answer there, so you went looking for one. Anyway, so I gave you a challenge there that I did not intend to, but I want to go through 19 anyway. Okay, so about yams again. Let's go through it. Grown only by lowest ranking lineage members. I mean, we know that's not true. Everybody grows yams. Even the chief gets involved in growing yams. And when we talk about lowest ranking lineage members among the Trobrianders, there was a kind of vague ranking of the lineages. I mean, without reference at all to the chiefly lineage, there were some lineages that were thought to be sort of classier than other lineages. So there was a kind of lineage stratification, kind of mild social stratification by lineage, but nonetheless it was there. But then, even if you didn't know that, I think you would know that growing yams is not limited to just one, set of folks among in the Trobrianders. So, okay, 19. There's no good answer. I've just disposed of, well, it says K, I guess, but it should be A, of course. And then 19 again, the second possible answer, B, or it's I here for some reason. Eaten only in chiefly natural lines. Again, you should know that that's not true. Everybody eats yams and so forth. We've already disposed of the last one, eaten only on festival days and sparingly. That's not true. So let's go to the one before that, distributed via barter. So I saw a number of answers, that one. I saw a number of choices that were that, distributed via barter for question 19. No, not at all. And you must don't use this phrase. Don't use this concept of barter for any of these traditional trade and exchange and networks of obligation that we've looked at, say for the Trobriands particularly, but for also the Kualka and others. Don't use the term barter. So I like to, barter may have its uses sometimes in talking about traditional societies, but usually not, because usually when you see a case of barter, I like to think of it as you're talking about kind of a cash marketplace without cash. If I have something and I say, well, I want to give you, I've got this chainsaw, it's like cost me $99.95 down at Home Depot, and I don't need it anymore. And I guess you've got, whatever you've got, a set of hex wrenches that I want, and you say, well, I spent, $129 for my hex wrench set, so I don't know if that's a fair trade, Then you may dicker around there a little bit and begin talking about, well, which of the goods are in better shape or something. You have to, in a way, what you're doing is you're just doing a kind of cash transaction without cash, or a cash transaction with goods. So you've got your eye, both of the partners there in my model, the trading partners, so to speak. They've got their eye very much on price, right? Yes, value in a way, but very, very much on price as determined by and in the marketplace. Cash, money, price. And so that to me, that's the classic kind of barter. There might be elements of barter in this or that other traditional thing, but for instance, the question number 19 is about yams, right? It's about Trobriand yams, particularly. And so on top of my general objections to the term barter in talking about the traditional tribal societies like the Trobriands, there's also the fact that we know, and you should know, right, that the yams are distributed automatically as a absolute obligation. You don't have a choice. They are distributed via the kinship and marriage system, so that brothers are giving away their yams to their married sisters' households, whether or not they want to, regardless of whether or not there are a bunch of yams that year or not that many. In other words, regardless of whether or not there's some sort of estimate that an outsider could put in terms of price on yams, they have to make this. They have to send those yams off to their sister's household, period. That's all. It's dictated by the mores, by the social expectation, the system of moral obligations, if you want to put it that way, governed by the kinship and marriage system in the Trobriand. So there's just no element whatsoever of even negotiation in the giving of yams there at all. So barter is a lousy idea for that one. So 19, is none of the above again, and kind of bear in mind what I'm talking about there. Okay, 21. Most of y'all got it right. The answer is A. Spanish control over New Spain was in what period? And I gave you 4 periods, and of course I screwed up because it should be. It's A. It's 1519. It's 1519 to 1821. It should be, and I wrote 1921. I thought I'd corrected it, but I had not. But as a number of you pointed out, and good for you, 1921 is about 100 years too late, isn't it? So it's 1821, just in future. So New Spain. Those are the numbers: 1521 to 1821, and the 1519.